Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Career Tip Tuesday. I am your host, Sherry Sims, founder of Black Career Women's Network. And Makita is traveling right now, so she will not be with us today. But we're going to go ahead and jump right into our topic today, which is speaking up with power and respect. So I want to share something with you. There is a leadership group that I facilitate and coach women in here and where I live locally, and it's focused on Black women. And so the group graduated in June, and there is a quote that I help them to use to advocate for themselves and speak up with power and respect. And so during the graduation, they made this T-shirt for me with the saying. We're going to talk about this today, which is can we talk about this with mutual respect and understanding? Okay. And so I love this phrase because it's a good way to kick off having a uncomfortable conversation with someone. And the whole goal is to make sure that it's creating psychological safety for you and the other individual. When I used to do my DEI work and doing these trainings, and we would talk about advocacy and microaggressions and speaking up and standing up for yourself, I used to always kick off with, having you start with your conversation with this quote. And so in my mind, as far as I'm concerned, this is the phrase every professional woman should keep in their toolkit, right? And I think it's important because we need to have a way that these conversations that we can empower ourselves to, to start these conversations and make sure that people understand that, we want to be respected, but not only just you. And we're going to talk about if you, for someone who witnessed, something that could be disrespectful or harmful to another individual. But again, today's topic is about speaking up with power and respect. You guys know the drill. When you come in, please let us know where you are tuning in from. We would definitely want to know if you have questions. We're going to talk about how do you kick off a conversation using, can we talk about this with mutual respect and understanding? So I think it's important for us to think about what that looks like and kind of jump right in. All right. So the first time that you can, kick off having this kind of conversation, or the first thing you need to think about, we're talking about speaking up with power and respect, is after there has been a dismissive comment. Now, whether this comment was, if it's been something that has been dismissive, or if it sounds disrespectful, or maybe you felt disregarded, just thinking about, how do you address it, right? Now, before we start talking about this, I guess let me kind of back up a little bit. We want to make sure that we are doing this, as my favorite person, Marcia Haygood, always says, you want to make sure you're using strategy over emotion. So even though you may witness something or experience something, you want to make sure that you're thinking about it from a clear perspective, being very strategic about how you want to address it, when you want to address it, and then also too, how do you want to kick this off? And so that's why this comment is good, because it helps you to frame, how, one, for them to be able to see it. So my thing is this: if you're saying to someone, can we talk about this, or hey, I just noticed you said something to such and such and it made me feel uncomfortable. Can we talk about this with mutual respect and understanding? And hopefully, if you have a mature person on the other side of that conversation, they should be open to saying yes. If you get anything less than a yes, or if there's any hostility or any kind of pushback from that, or if they're trying to reflect it back on you, one, they're not ready to have the conversation, they're not mature enough to have the conversation, and then you might need to take it, might need to use another strategy. But typically, this is a powerful way to say something and then being able to absolutely just kick off that conversation. Hi, Melanie. Hi, Shakira. Thank you for watching from Texas and Raleigh and Anchorage, Alaska, and West Palm Beach. So if you're just now tuning in, we're talking about speaking up with power and respect. And I just talked about the phrase every professional woman should keep in her toolkit. And that phrase is, can we talk about this with mutual respect and understanding? And as I was saying before, there is a Black Women's Leadership group that I coach and facilitate here. And we use this as part of one of our training models. And they got this T-shirt made it for me. So shout out to Alicia Lee. from the group for making this t-shirt. So I definitely wanted to recognize and honor that amazing group and her for making this t-shirt. But can we talk about this with mutual respect and understanding is a good way to kick off having this conversation. I'm going to type this in. Can we talk about this with mutual respect and understanding? And this could be for anyone, okay, that you work with. It doesn't have to be like with just a peer. It could be with anybody. It could be with a boss. It could be with someone that's in higher leadership. And it's, can we talk about this with mutual respect and understanding? And that's what this is, because I think we have to have a way that we can kick off these conversations and do it in a way that we are coming to someone respectfully and that we're asking for, respect as well. All right. So can we talk about this with mutual respect and understanding? I'm going to add that one more time to our, can we talk about this with mutual respect and understanding? Hello, Brittany. Hello. All right. So that is the phrase that we're going to be basing these off of. So when we're talking about speaking up with power and respect, again, going back to the first one, which is talking about having a conversation. Confrontation isn't always easy, right? And we're not really confronting. We're not really trying to have this conversation from a confrontational standpoint. What we're trying to do is get an understanding, right? And clear, and making sure that we are clear about how what you just experienced made you feel, and what you witnessed, and how it made you feel, and how can we talk through this, because they may not have recognized that their behavior was disrespectful or that it may have impacted you in a negative way. So the first one is, again, after a dismissive comment, making sure that you address it immediately. Don't let it slide, because if you let it slide, it may happen again. Right. The second one is when you notice a pattern of microaggressions or biases or behavior that that is not supportive and conducive to having a healthy workplace relationship. Again, when you notice it, making sure that you are, before you have the conversation or say, can we talk about this with mutual respect and understanding, make sure that you are coming with clear examples of what you've witnessed or what you've experienced when you want to address it. Make sure you're doing that. You want to be clear about that. The next time you want to think about making sure that you want to have a conversation and start kicking it off with this phrase is when feedback feels personal instead of professional, or if it sounds disrespectful. So I did have a young lady that called me and was concerned. She was during her, her review time. And of course, she was prepared for her review with her accomplishments and all the things, and wanted to talk about her professional trajectory and where she needed it to go. She felt as if her manager was being very dismissive or disrespectful in his tone and how he was saying it, and how he even replied at the end. As she did say, hey, I really feel like what you said was unfair. Then she got even more pushback, or what I consider just a little bit of a small retaliation because of the ego. But again, you still have an opportunity and the right that when you feel like your feedback is personal instead of professional because their ego's involved, or they haven't done their emotional maturity work, and you feel like it's not professional or disrespectful, you have the right to say, can we talk about this with mutual respect and understanding? Which means, can we talk about this like mature adults and not go back and forth? So again, this is a powerful way to ask a question about having a very uncomfortable conversation, but it also will give you an indication of how mature the other individual is, and if they're even ready and prepared to have that conversation. And what I mean by that, are they mature enough to say absolutely? And that way they can be mature enough to own up to their part in what is about to take place. So again, phrasing it this way is powerful because it also shows you where the other individual stands with their level of emotional maturity and how well they're able to receive being able to have that kind of conversation. So tell me, anyone you're watching, have you had a opportunity or a chance to do something like this where you're like, hey, you know what, I think I'm gonna talk to this person because I felt like what was said or what was done was either unfair, disrespectful, or it's impacting me in the workplace, or I feel like it's creating a hostile work environment, or this individual has toxic behavior, what is that? What does that look like? So would love to know. Hello again, Brittany from Pennsylvania, and then watching from Cypress, Texas. I love it. I love it. Love it. So again, you want to be able to start to address and have a conversation with someone when feedback you're receiving feels personal instead of professional or disrespectful. And here's the thing, you all. Do not think for one moment that the leader there who you report to is not above reproach. Okay. They also you can have that conversation with them. You can go to your manager and say, hey, can we talk about this with mutual respect and understanding? Just making sure you're being very clear and concise about what it is the message you're trying to convey, being very clear about the experience, whether you witness it or it happened to you. Again, being able to even say what you'd like to see come out of this conversation, or how you would like, what's your expectation about how you want to be treated moving forward. We have to be able to advocate and stand up for ourselves, and using this phrase is a good way to start that. All right, the next one is when you need to address unprofessional or constant interruptions. Okay, this is great for people who interrupt you a lot during meetings or interrupt you a lot during conversations, or maybe they're very unprofessional in how they address you or how they even are engaging with you during this. It could be regular everyday interactions. Maybe they're constantly minimizing what you bring to the table. Maybe they are constantly criticizing what you do. Maybe they are could be doing some things like leaving you out of information that you need, or not including you in a meeting, right? Or they could be sitting at the table and talking to someone else, but they're really trying to talk to you and looking at someone else as if they're trying to just disregard you from the conversation. So picking up on these things is important. And don't allow your emotions to get so high, we're going to talk about that next, that you forget how to address these things. One of the things I always say too, if you're going to use this, make sure you read the room and make sure you do it in a time that is right. Sometimes we have to address things in real time because we just have to. Sometimes we have to nip it in the bud right then and there. But there are some other things that you can say, you know what, I'm gonna wait till after the meeting, or I'm gonna wait till this afternoon, or I'm gonna gather my thoughts and I'm gonna talk about this in the morning. Whatever that looks like, you just don't allow it to fester. Whatever that is, just make sure you read the room and make sure it's appropriate time to ask, can we talk about this with mutual respect and understanding, right? So yes, I keep popping my shit. For those of you who just coming on, we're talking about this phrase and how speaking it with power and respect, and how you can use this to kick off a conversation to bring clarity to that. Now the next one is when emotions are high and clarity is needed. All right. When emotions are high and clarity is needed, this means that you have to make sure that if you're in a conversation and you see it's getting heated, or maybe it's a group conversation or individual one-on-one conversation, and you see that nothing, we're not getting anywhere, right? We're not getting, okay, can we just kind of calm down? Can we reel this in possibly? And let's back up. And can we talk about this with mutual respect and understanding, and allow ourselves to be able to hear each other out and do this in a way where we're both respectful. I don't know if you all watched Amanda Seal's debate with the 20 Black conservatives that came on Sunday night. And I was thinking about this phrase because there was a couple of times where she was interrupted, and I would have loved to have heard her say that, right? Okay, we talk about this with mutual respect and understanding. Or even one of the people who debated her, not that she would have done that, because she's definitely a pro at what she does. But again, being able to kick it off with this here, if you are dealing with a person who has the right type of mindset, there should not be any hostility after you ask this question. It really should not be. But again, when emotions are high and clarity is needed, you may need to just back, both of you may need to step away for a moment and come back and talk about it with mutual respect and understanding, instead of trying to get everybody's opinions across. So again, just another way to do that. And then the last one is when you're advocating for yourself or others. And I've kind of talked about this throughout talking about these different tips when it comes to speaking it with power and respect. When you're thinking about advocating for yourself or others, yes, you can go to them and say, hey, I'll just use, hey, Tracy, I'm going to use your name for a minute, Tracy. Hey, Tracy, I want to talk about something that I have been experiencing while we're working with you. Can we talk about this with mutual respect and understanding? And they may say, well, what is this about? Well, that's why I want to talk to you about it. Can you have time to talk right now, or can we talk this afternoon? It's, whatever. Because at the end of the day, you still have to be prepared for what type of pushback they may give you from this. Now, again, this is a powerful statement that can work for a mature individual, but someone who doesn't have that capacity, you may have to offer up a little bit more context as to what you're trying to accomplish or why you're wanting to talk with them. And that's okay. As long as they're able to, as long as they have the emotional maturity to agree to having that conversation, I think that will work. But when you're advocating for yourself and others, or when you want to have a conversation with someone because you've been witnessing how they've been treating someone else, yeah, be ready to come with those receipts and be ready to explain how it's impacting you and what resolution you'd like to see come from it. Okay, so when you're advocating for yourself and others in the workplace, yes, absolutely use this statement, but also come with receipts and also come with what you like to see, what you'd like the outcomes to be as well from that. All right. Any questions from this? Tracy, yes, I used your name, so I hope you're okay with that. And just wanted to be able to use it as a reference, if that's okay. Would love to hear some questions or feedback you all may have about this. And again, for those of you who are just now joining, we are talking specifically about speaking up with power and respect, and if you wanted to have a conversation with someone because of some experiences that you had with them, then the phrase that I've been using is this is how you can kick off that conversation in a smooth way is, can we talk about this with mutual respect and understanding? Boom. The phrase every Black woman should have in her toolkit. All right. Absolutely. All right. So I'm going to run these back before I give you my final career smart tip to talk about this, which is the first one is you want to use this phrase or this question when you want to kick off a conversation after dismissive comment. You want to use it when you notice a pattern of microaggressions or biases. You want to use it when your feedback feels personal instead of professional, or if it feels disrespectful. You want to use it when you need to address unprofessional or constant interruptions. You want to use it when emotions are high and clarity is needed. And also when advocating for yourself and others. Here's another thing too. If someone steals your idea and they use it as their own, hey, I just noticed that you took my idea and used it for your own. Can we talk about this in mutual respect and understanding? Boom. Okay. And again, this phrase tells you everything you need to know about the person's character based on how they respond. Okay, so Shakira says, in my situation, when I attempt professional address the issue, the person on the receiving end is not accepting the concerns I'm trying to bring forward as if what happened never happened, and it was all in my head. Okay, a little bit of gaslighting going on, sounds like here. And it was just all in my head. And that's why I say when you use this to address it, you have to come with your receipts and how you want this to be resolved. Come with the clear, specific experiences you've had, the examples, use it, and then this is what I would like to see happen, or this is what I would like to see change, or this is how I would like for us to work together in the future. Right? And again, you can't control the lack of emotional maturity on the other end, but what you can do is say, okay, document the conversation, document the responses, or what was the outcome from that conversation. And then if you feel like if the behavior continues to happen, then you probably need to get a third party involved to help you to resolve it. Maybe there needs to be a mediation. Be clear about what it is you want from being able to have this conversation with them. So again, Shakira too, it's all about being able to address it. Use this phrase. This phrase is powerful. Can we talk about this with mutual respect and understanding? And because that right there again should set up the conversation to be talked about with professionalism and with maturity and respect. And if it gets off track, you can go back into it and say, I did ask to have this conversation with mutual respect and understanding. Keep it like that, because that tells you everything you need to know. And you keep your emotions in check. Be clear about what it is you want to accomplish, how you want to see you two move forward, whatever that is. Practice it moving forward. Do not allow them to gaslight you and say it's all in your head. You better be glad I'm live or I'll be saying something else. Okay. But don't let them. When you have the conversation, you make sure that you bring your concerns, live incidents, experiences. I don't care if you put on this date and this time this happened. You make it solid. And then of course they have to, and what you're going to say is that I'm not going to allow for you or anyone else to gaslight me into what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing. And if we go into this attitude about being, oh, I feel threatened, or I feel hostile, or I feel uncomfortable. Well, sounds like a personal issue to me, because I know I'm showing you mutual respect. So if you're uncomfortable with what I'm saying and what I'm bringing to the table, then there might be some things you have to address within yourself. Because long gone are the days of, this whole coming to me is, oh, I felt threatened, or I just felt, no, I don't want to hear that. Because that means that you feel a certain way for no reason, because you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. So again, we have to also be able to identify those behaviors and call them out, and let them know, I see the games you're playing, and you're not going to treat me this way, because I'm not treating you this way. We're going to have this conversation with mutual respect and understanding, because I'm giving you that and you're going to give it back to me. And again, I would have loved to have seen Amanda use that phrase during her debate, because I think the way that you can use this phrase can shut it down. What I mean by that is that, hey, let's bring it to where we need to be, adult to adult. So again, just wanted to share that. Now, the career smart tip I want to share with you all is speaking up is not about confrontation, and it's not. It's about safeguarding your credibility, protecting your peace, affirming your worth, and making respect the rule and not the exception. Okay, which means that we're going to talk about this respectfully. We're not going to gaslight. We're not going to marginalize. We're not going to use microaggressions. We're not going to say, no, I'm an angry Black woman. No, what I am is a professional. I'm your peer, or you're my boss. But however, I do still, I still need to be respected. I still need to be heard and listened to. You know what I'm saying? So again, we're not playing these reindeer games in 2025 anymore. We're just not doing it. We're just not doing it. Okay? I'm going to say this phrase one more time. Speaking up is not about confrontation. It's about safeguarding your credibility, protecting your peace, affirming your worth, and making respect the rule and not the exception. All right? Which means we're not going to be in these streets treating you any kind of way. We're not going to do it. We're just not going to do it. All right. So those are the tips I have for speaking up with power and respect. And again, the one thing I didn't put a lot of detail in is when we're talking about the emotions, like I said, my very good friend, Marsha Hagood, always talks about strategy over emotion. Use that. And even when you ask this phrase, can we talk about this with mutual respect and understanding, making sure you are prepared for that conversation, again, with the receipts of what has gone on, what you've experienced, what the outcome of what you want to see happen, how you want to see this relationship move forward, whatever that looks like. You be prepared for all of those things. So even if it happens and your emotions are high, just don't go in and say, can we talk about this with mutual respect and understanding? Make sure that make sure you've got a strategy behind what you want to talk about when you have the conversation. Go in ready and prepared, but don't wait too long. Okay. So again, if you see a pattern or something, you might want to lay things out so you can talk about it. And it depends on how structured you want the conversation to be. Do you want this conversation to be more of just a one-on-one with you two because you feel like it's okay to do that? Or do you need to have a third party involved and have some mediation because it's just that bad? So you've got to decide on what that looks like. But you also, too, can make sure that whoever you bring into the conversation to mediate that you can trust. And so that's another live for another time. But I do think it's important for you to think about what that looks like. And then even too, when you're having these types of conversations, which we didn't talk about here today, because this is just kind of giving you the different times you should think about when you should be speaking up with power and respect for yourself, but thinking about what that retaliation behavior may be, or if it is, or being able to let them know when you're having this type of conversation that, and you're what you're expecting, what you're not expecting is for any kind of, for your behavior to shift or change towards you, where it starts to become more like it's retaliation. Because we also have to let individuals know that we recognize what retaliatory behavior is, and that we know what that can lead to. So again, letting people know that you are aware of what that kind of behavior looks like, is letting them know, I already know what that looks like, so don't try it. And if you try it, that means you must be ready for a different type of situation. So again, it's all about us understanding, and I'm really big on this. If those of you who've been watching Career Tip Tuesday for quite some time, that I'm really big on really paying attention to how we treat the people that how we treat the people that we work with, but paying attention to the people that we work with and how they move, who they engage with, and how they interact with not just other people, but with us. And so, and how organizations move and who interacts. Paying attention to those things can tell you a lot about where you work and the people that you're working with. And so we can't be in these workplaces just with our heads down and thinking it's okay. We have to pay attention to these behaviors, and we have to have the right things in our toolbox to address these things. We're living in a very precarious time right now, where individuals are probably a bit more bolder than they used to be. Things are probably were more subtle, or now becoming a little more blatant, and maybe, or vice versa, depending on where you are. So the more things you have in your toolbox that can help you to advocate for yourself, and speak up for yourself, and then being able to recognize what retaliatory behavior is, which is another live, of course. All these things do is help to empower you in the workplace, and help you, give you the tools you need to be able to continue to thrive. Because here's the thing, I always have these conversations with individuals when I'm out and about. I'm like, yeah, not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. And because we still need people in workplaces, and AI ain't snatching up everything. So we still have to understand as Black women how to navigate these workspaces, so we continue to strive and meet the career goals and things that we're trying to achieve with as much as with as less strife and conflict as possible. Or when we do meet these challenges, we are equipped to be able to deal with them. And then we also have a tribe we can talk to that can help us through that. So I think it's important for us to recognize these things. All right, you guys, I think it is time. If you all don't have any questions, you guys have been pretty quiet today, but thank you for that question, or sharing that with us, Chakira. I hope I said that right. If you all want to connect with us, please, you can go to bcwnetwork.com. And then I know I always share this with them. For those of you who are new, this is your first time watching, or if you have not watched before, there is I'm going to give you all a link to the 6 essential power moves every Black woman should know. It is a smart guide of ours that I always share with our, with our group. So I want to share this with you all now. I'm going to go ahead and drop it in the comment box for you all. So you can, that way you can take advantage of downloading it and learning more about the 6 power moves. And I think it's important that we understand, I'm big on strategy. I'm big on us being strategic about how we move in the workplace, making sure that we are using the tools that empower ourselves, that can help us to become the Black career women that we want to be in the workplace. So I'm going to go ahead and add this to the comment section, if I can get there. Boom. And it should be there. There you go. There it is. All right. Please take that, download it, the 6 power moves, 6 essential power moves that every Black woman should know. And again, I want to leave you guys again with this quote. And this is a quote that I discovered many, many years ago that has helped me to change the trajectory of my career and my life, which is the life God gave you is larger than the life you've been living. And God gives us all gifts and talents, and it's our job to discover what those are and use those to work in our purpose. So I hope you all have an amazing rest of your Tuesday afternoon and an amazing rest of your work week. And we will see you in 2 weeks. Bye, everyone.